You should now have a set of micro goals for each of your subjects of study. What you need to do now is break down your subjects into actions that will close the gap between your current and your target level of competence for each micro goal. To break down each subject into actions, you need to ask yourself, what do I need to do in order to achieve my target? Let's say you want to learn Italian to a certain level. Well, it would make sense to divide this broad, intimidating subject called Italian into 4 basic parts: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And then you could focus on one part, let's say speaking Italian, and then try to find smaller parts embedded within that. Perhaps you struggle with grammar, for example, and perhaps specifically you struggle with using the past tense. So you might say you want to learn to speak Italian fluently in the past tense by the end of the year. Breaking a subject down into relevant actions that you need in order to close the gap is what personalizes your learning plan. If you decide to skip this step, there's a real risk that you'll only spend time on the activities that you enjoy the most, which are often the things that you're best at, rather than spending time on the activities that you really need to work at. Do you remember the actions that you listed as learning tactics previously in the course? Why not use them to start this exercise? You should find them helpful. And think of every action as something you really need to train at. It's not something you'll do only once. You'll do it until you achieve the competence level you need for your micro goal. For example, if your micro goal is to become an online editing professional, some of your actions could be write a blog, take dictations, or make orthographic revisions. Each of these actions will require training sessions. Designing these training sessions is key to being a self-directed learner. Here's when the learning principles come into play as guidelines, and where your knowledge about learning styles and learning methods is really valuable. Go back to the list of learning methods you looked at previously. Try to diversify the styles and methods you use for your training sessions so that you expand your learning possibilities. Use your preferred learning methods, but also try out methods you've never used before. Again, you don't have to invent everything from scratch. To find good ideas for training, do some research or ask people who have the skills you want to develop what they did in their learning process. Your training design doesn't need to be perfect. It just has to be good enough for you to start your learning program, and you can always redesign it as you go. Here are 3 useful tips. First, training sessions are usually of 3 types: deliberate practice for learning through self-guided exercises, guided sessions for learning from others like watching this video, and complementary activities for other forms of learning like reading or reflecting. Second, training sessions should have a do and improve cyclical structure. You do something through a learning method, you get feedback, you reflect on the feedback and integrate it into your learning, and then you do it all over again. Getting feedback is key to effective learning. Thirdly, training requires 3 things to be effective: an objective, a fun design, and a redesign through which you improve your learning process. Pay particular attention to making your training sessions joyful. Try to train with friends and play and have fun. Writing a blog, for example, is a better learning experience when you write it with friends about a theme that you're passionate about. Creating your own specific personalized training sessions can be really good fun, but it can also be very difficult, so don't feel obliged to do everything by yourself. In the next chapter, I'm going to help you choose the resources you need to support your learning.